By the year 1356, the 100 Years' War had been raging for over 2 decades, a conflict ignited by dynastic disputes and territorial ambitions. At the heart of the struggle was England's King Edward III, who laid claim to the French throne through his mother, Isabella, a French princess. This challenge to the legitimacy of the Valois dynasty plunged both nations into a prolonged and brutal war. Edward's son, Edward, the Black Prince, emerged as a key commander in England's military campaigns. A skilled and aggressive leader, he led a devastating chevauchée through southwestern France in 1355, a scorched earth campaign designed to cripple the French economy and demoralize its people. His forces left a trail of destruction in their wake, daring the French to engage them in open battle. But the war was not merely about tactics and conquests. It was a saga of legendary figures, battlefield glory, and the relentless pursuit of power. These epic struggles have fascinated generations, their echoes still heard in tales of knights and chivalry. And speaking of legendary stories, imagine stepping into a world not of warring kings, but of noble quests, enchanted swords, and mythical heroes. We invite you to embark on a different kind of adventure, far from the bloodied fields of France and into the fabled realm of King Arthur. Pre-registration is now open for King Arthur, Legends Rise, where you can forge your own tale of valor and legend. Why simply watch history unfold when you can become part of it? Every legend begins somewhere. Make yours begin today. In early 1356, Edward, the Black Prince, launched a fresh campaign from Bordeaux, commanding a force of approximately 6,000 men, including elite longbowmen, heavily armed men-at-arms, and allied Gascon troops. His raids swept through the French countryside, weakening local strongholds and forcing King John II of France, known as John the Good, to respond. Determined to reclaim lost territory and restore France's honor, John gathered a massive army of 14,000 to 16,000 troops, including elite knights, crossbowmen, and men-at-arms. His forces mobilized in an effort to halt the English advance and bring the Black Prince to battle. Throughout the summer, both sides engaged in a dangerous game of maneuvering and skirmishes, each seeking the advantage. Edward's men pressed northward, laying waste to villages and stretching French defenses thin. Rather than facing the full might of the French army head-on, the Black Prince employed a strategy of mobility and surprise, evading direct confrontation until he could secure the most advantageous battlefield. By September, the English forces had taken up a defensive position near Poitiers, making use of the region's natural landscape, dense hedgerows, wooded areas, and marshes to fortify their lines. This terrain would force the French to attack uphill and through narrow gaps, nullifying their numerical superiority. It was here that one of the most decisive battles of the 100 Years' War would unfold. Born in 1330, Edward, the Black Prince, was already a seasoned warrior by the time he faced the French at Poitiers. His legendary tactical mind had been demonstrated 10 years earlier at the Battle of Crécy, where his longbowmen had decimated the French cavalry. Now, he prepared to repeat that success. The English army, though smaller, was highly disciplined and well-positioned. Their longbowmen, the backbone of Edward's force, were capable of launching 6 arrows per minute, piercing through armor and disrupting enemy formations. Supporting them were experienced men-at-arms and skilled Gascon allies, led by the formidable Captal de Buch. Opposing them stood King John II of France, a ruler burdened with both internal strife and the ongoing English war. Determined to secure a decisive victory, he personally led his massive army into battle. His knights, clad in heavy armor and mounted on powerful war horses, were among the most formidable warriors in Europe. Alongside him were key commanders, including his son Charles, the Dauphin, and the experienced marshals Jean de Clermont and Arnoul d'Audrahem. The French had numbers on their side, but the battlefield would soon prove to be their undoing. The battle commenced at dawn on September 19th, 1356. The French, confident in their numerical strength, advanced toward the English positions. King John II ordered an initial cavalry charge, but the rugged terrain proved disastrous. The French knights struggled through narrow, marshy ground, their formations disrupted before they even reached the English lines. Then, the English longbowmen unleashed hell. A storm of arrows rained down on the French cavalry, piercing armor and felling horses. The initial charge crumbled, forcing the French to regroup. King John ordered a second wave, this time led by his son, Charles, the Dauphin. This assault, consisting of dismounted men-at-arms and infantry, fared no better. They advanced under relentless English arrow fire, only to be met with fierce resistance from the waiting English troops. The Dauphin's forces were thrown into disarray and ultimately forced to retreat. In the confusion, Philip, Duke of Orleans, fled the battlefield, taking with him a substantial portion of the French army, including all 4 of King John's sons. With morale collapsing and French forces in chaos, a third wave of attackers was easily repelled. Sensing the moment for a decisive strike, Edward ordered a mounted force of 160 men, led by the Captal de Buch, to flank the French from the rear. Panic spread through the already battered French ranks as they believed themselves surrounded. In the final melee, King John II himself was captured, refusing to flee despite his dire circumstances. Fighting until the very end, he was ultimately taken prisoner alongside numerous French nobles. The once mighty French army had been utterly shattered. The consequences of Poitiers were nothing short of monumental. The loss of the French king plunged France into political chaos, forcing the kingdom into desperate negotiations. The Treaty of Bretigny, signed in 1360, saw vast territories ceded to England and imposed a massive ransom for John's release. For England, the victory at Poitiers cemented their dominance in the ongoing war, proving that superior tactics could overcome even the largest of armies. The English continued to hold sway over large portions of France, though the war itself would drag on for another century, ultimately concluding in 1453. The Battle of Poitiers remains one of history's greatest military triumphs, a testament to the power of strategy, discipline, and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to defy the odds.